Hi everyone at hashtag CDC Whistleblower. I am here with Timothy Welsh, who is at Tanner's dad, and I just seem to want to call him Tanner all the time. Anyway, congratulations. We are at 932,153,300 conversations happening on Twitter with hashtag CDC Whistleblower as of 9:02 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for us to hashtag break a billion about Vax Truth so there can hashtag be one less vaccine victim. We're not going to focus on the negative, but you all have seen it. We have brought the craziness out of hiding, and there isn't a single station on the television or a reporter that isn't coming out of hiding in their pro-vax propaganda. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that the thread looks amazing, and we cannot predict when we will break through hashtag break a billion now. But I just want to read this from Gandhi, because one of the things with Gandhi was that people have forgotten about his history was his opinion about vaccination. Vaccination is a barbarous practice and one of the most fatal of all the delusions current in our time. Conscientious objectors to vaccination should stand alone, if need be, against the whole world in defense of their convictions. If you want to read about that, Gandhi was anti-vax. Now let's switch to Tim really quickly. We're going to go over to his thread. We have a ton of new tweeters. So I was thinking, Tim, that one of the good things we could do is as we have, in fact, let's go back, as we have these new tweeters coming in and you haven't seen them before, you have to confirm that they're on the right side. Probably 1 in 7 of the tweeters is a hardcore pro-vaxxer. This is John Rappaport, which means they're on the right side of this. He's probably someone new to this. Just give them some words of encouragement with a link or a visual that goes to what they're already talking about. But the thread is looking amazing, and it has for about a week now, full of tons and tons of great information. Annoying tweeter, just ignore. That's someone who just retweets anybody that follows them, so just ignore that for now. But they're actually following someone who's doing a good job tweeting, so it's not as bad as it could be. Tim, let's look at your thread now. What's going on over at your side of the woods? Are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Oh, good. I only lost you 5 times before we did this. Okay, so talk to us.
There's just a lot of things going on that are exciting that people are putting together the 5 things we've asked them to do.
What are those 5 things, Tim?
And again, you just pointed out, and I'm just tweeting the SoundCloud little 2-minute radio interview I did, and I failed on job 1, mentioning the CDC whistleblower hashtag.
It took me 3 listens to even recognize that, though. I had to listen to it 3 times. In fact, it's so short, Tim. Let's just listen to it real fast, if you don't mind.
Okay, it should be the.
You did such a great job.
You got it up there, huh? Okay, go.
Yeah, I've got it up here. It's these 2 waffles. I don't know why he's trying to make us hungry while we're doing this for a bunch of gluten waffles, but let's listen to this. And it took me 3 times to notice that the hashtag wasn't in there, but here we go. Now, of course, it's not behaving. Is that it? Just click right there on that button? There it is. Is there another one that I can just go to?
Should be as the. I just retweeted it again. It should be the last tweet I did.
Yeah, but I don't know why it wouldn't just tweet from there. Okay. The last tweet you just did.
Yeah, it should be.
Here we go. What is happening today, Mike? There. Stop. Go.
You're listening to the Father Z podcast, our first episode featuring Tim Welsh. Tim Welsh, why do you question vaccines?
Let me put that in perspective. Why don't you question vaccines? When half of our kids are sick now, 54% are sick, and that's their own numbers. tinyurl.com/1 in 2, or you can use tinyurl.com/sicker-than-ever. Vaccines have never been tested. Never have we done vaccinated versus unvaccinated. We can listen to the CDC just squirm their heads off at tinyurl.com/kids experiments.
I do question vaccines, but 99% of the doctors and our government is clear in the message that vaccines are safe and effective and rarely cause negative reactions.
I guess on Twitter, I'm at Tanner's Dad, and my friends have now tweeted, 50,000 parents getting together have tweeted over 900 million times. We're going for 1 billion. So can you find the definition of rare anywhere? Because I've looked for it for over a decade, and I can't find it anywhere. I just can't see using the term rare when it comes to, they use the term anecdotal, they use the term rare. I have not personally read a single study that says a single shot is safe. The Supreme Court says unavoidably unsafe when it comes to vaccines.
I've seen report after report of doctors whom I respect speaking of safety.
See, doctors after doctors get their information from the pharmaceutical establishment. At this point, we've actually put it together at tinyurl.com/vaxcollapse, and Dr. Gary Null has put together a line-by-line article of the failures of last year and the CDC.
Can you give us more information one more time for everybody who might be listening, the proper URLs to go to in order to find out more about vaccines, efficacy, as well as safety and hazards?
We've boiled it down to one simple page with links only, no comments. It's the letter B as in boy, the numeral 1, and LESS.com. So B1 less, spelled the way I said it. B1less.com is where you'll find all those tiny URLs that I just referenced, and I appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks for being part of the Father Z podcast.
Okay, so that was amazing. And can you talk a little bit about how you prepared for that? Because between that and the radio show, you just hit it out of the park. I mean, do you have links in front of you? Do you have something you kind of have figured out works best? What do you do, Tim?
Well, I think at this point we really have to shift it away from ourselves and really get the message out there as soon as possible with these radio talk show personalities. They're going to ask you up front, are you anti-vaccine? And so we need a instant response to that.
So Tim, I'm going to ask you, Tim, are you anti-vaccine?
I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm pro-safe vaccine, and what we're showing. See, I stuttered. I failed at this.
No, you didn't fail, but I think it just speaks volumes to
practice.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard you get better every time you do it. To be honest, I mean, every time you've done a show now, you've gotten more of the URLs out. You've gotten more of the message of half our kids are sick. We've never tested it. I mean, like, where's that one meme that has that whole list of stuff that you were going to be on that show, the Brian whatever show, and it has a whole list on there that just we found that looked so good. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Oh, here's the Gandhi one. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight at you, then the entire thing collapses around you as you win. And those are all just links to those 4 things happening. So we're in the fight stage. It's harder now than it's been the whole time. We just got to ride this because it's going to happen. This one right here, Tim. This one right here. I think this one I would have handy if I were going to be on a radio show. And I would just go through the bullet points and then anything else that I thought was important, don't you think?
Let me pull it up and I can see it. I can't.
Oh, you can see it on our Google Hangouts. I'll read it to you. It looks like it was either something you wrote somewhere.
You asked the question, am I anti-vaccine? I'm glad you asked because at CDC whistleblower. If I read my own script, I would have CDC whistleblower in the conversation. We have 1 billion people asking just that question. Of course, I'm not anti-vaccine, but that's the question.
Wait, you left out the word safe. Go back. Of course.
Of course, I'm not anti-vax. Of
Safe.
course, that's hard to say. Of course, I'm not anti-safe vaccine, but that's the question. Are vaccines safe? Half of our kids are sick. tinyurl.com 1 and 2 and /sicker than ever. Our government has never researched vax versus no vax, and that's at /kids experiments. Our Supreme Court has labeled vaccines unavoidably unsafe, and that's at /safety void. The doctors who don't vaccinate have healthier kids /less is less. The doctors who don't, I can't even read. The question about autism has been studied in the last 17 years /do vaccines cause autism. The question about autism has been, I repeat, it's too late at night to do this.
Don't you think the concept has helped you a lot, though? The concept of actually having, it doesn't need to be a script, but it needs to be chunks of information that flow naturally from one to the next.
Right.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that boiling it down and rehearsing and practicing in anything makes things better. And
right.
At this point, we need to print out things like the DC Immune and hand them out at work. I mean, if there's people who have questions, have you Googled CDC whistleblower? Have you heard about CDC whistleblower? Wow, it just made the mainstream news media, and over 1 billion people are having conversations about it.
And I think you've been right along the whole time, Tim, that the reality is that #CDC whistleblower is a platform, and that's it. Nobody owns it. A lot of people worked on it, but the reality is once we #break 1 billion on CDC whistleblower, it's something we will be able to use for the rest of our lives, or as long as this vaccine insanity continues.
I'm going to sing it. I've got a golden ticket for the rest of my life. I can hold up that ticket and say, 1 billion conversations happened about vaccine injury, and it was totally ignored for the entire time that we were having the conversation until we hit 930 million views before mainstream even wrote the first article about it.
Right. And then it was in the DC Caller, and it kind of mushroomed for there. And for anybody who doesn't know that, because I've seen a few Facebook posts from people who don't even know, they're like, what's going on? Nobody's on Facebook talking about it. And I'm like, that's because everybody's on Twitter. What happened was a DC-based insider government sort of newspaper picked up the story and ran with it. Let me just pull it up here, actually. Tell them about it while I type this in, Tim. The DC Immune.
Well, Patrick did a fantastic job of researching it, official journalism-wise, going to Congressman Posey, going to Dr. Hooker, pursuing the leads that he had, and he found out the story, and he told the story as a true journalist would. And Dr. Thompson now has whistleblower status, which means he can't have recrimination against him. He gets to keep his job.
Okay.
What's that?
The video started playing because it's just what it does. Keep going. Sorry.
But it's a very well written, researched article with credible sources, and from this point forward, anything that Anderson Cooper brings on to muddy the water is just shows the lunacy of the mainstream media.
I don't know what my computer's doing now. Oh my God. And you just can't let yourself get too annoyed by the teleprompter readers at the different stations. This is all going to turn on a dime when it does, and they're all going to be looking for new jobs. So I
would love to put Anderson Cooper against Congressman Burton
Oh,
without
sorry.
somebody
Okay.
without somebody in his ear. I mean,
So,
that would be just amazing to me to see Congressman Burton just shred Anderson Cooper in a mano a mano debate.
Well, I thought he shredded him on the CNN thing that he did, because it just looked like this petulant teenager being completely disrespectful to someone who spent 3 years on a committee designed to learn a specific topic. It just looks ridiculous.
He spent decades serving our country and being a public servant, and there was no respect given to the fact that he served our country in many different ways, and then he's the father of a the grandfather of a vaccine-injured child. And
yeah, it was just obnoxious.
Again, we question, why is CNN putting all these people that help our side? That here you out of the blue, you just grab a grandfather of a vaccine-injured child, and Congressman Burton told a very solid, clear story how he believes the thimerosal the mercury in the vaccines contributed to his grandson's demise. And no matter what anybody says, the mercury is still in the vaccines. The cumulative effect of the mercury, the aluminum, the adjuvants, the live viruses, all the things that are in the vaccines cause the problems. What the media is trying to do is boil it down to one vaccine, one doctor, one situation, one individual, one celebrity, or one something. But it's all about all of it. It's about all the vaccines. It's about all the doctors. It's about all of us that have vaccine-injured children.
Well, and it's about Wakefield and it's about Jenny, but it's not about them now. You know, that Jenny was 10 years ago, Andy was 17 years ago, and when this whole thing comes full circle, they'll be the first ones to have a party with all of this. But they're not the references that are being used right now. That debate
they should be saying Dr. Hooker. They should be saying Dr. Thompson. They should be United States versus Merck. They should be saying Dr. Thorson. They should be saying all these people that are the current scandals right now. There's at least 3 scandals that we know of that have just gone not reported at all.
Right, and I'm just going through if you ever just want to get to the photos, you can either go to Twitter and then hashtag CDC whistleblower, and then just to the photos and the grid, or if you want to share it on Facebook, you can put in tinyurl.com/trends and tips. But let's just go through a few of these. This is what you're going to see. People keep updating the countdown here, and we're at 9:32. So this could go really quickly in the next couple days. This is the Gandhi saying. A lot of people are talking about shedding now, because when they're trying to pose that question, don't you feel bad that your unvaccinated kid could spread the disease to a vaccinated kid, which is ludicrous. But vaccine shedding, this is /vaccine shedding, it's called shedding, it's /Stellara. This is the doctor who, if you go to this report, muzzling doctors, you're going to see CNN is now chasing this doctor around who is very public about his position on vaccines. And now 2 other doctors complained about it, so he's up on charges with the medical board. So they're trying to shut these doctors up.
There's a couple amazing themes that are going on Twitter, on the thread, that the mothers are finding when they go to hospitals and maternity wards. There's big signs up that said, "Don't walk in here if you've just been vaccinated." And so, I mean, they've got the signs up in the hospitals that everybody sees when you go to a maternity ward that says, "Stay away from here if you've just been vaccinated." And it says the reason why, because you can transmit whatever you just got. So there's point 1 of the discussion that says, oh, the vaccine can give off and make those that have the autoimmune or they're too young to be vaccinated, those vaccinated can make those people have problems. And then
it's far more likely that the people who have been recently vaccinated are going to get people sick than the people who are unvaccinated. Far more likely.
And then the second theme that seems to be evolving is that, we have to mandate vaccines for our kids because they're just terrible if they're healthy kids and they're out there and they're unvaccinated. But less than 50% of adults are even close to being caught up on all the boosters and all the recommended vaccines that the CDC wants them to get at the moment. We're behind like 100 shots.
Oh yeah, I did the math one time, and this is one you've got to go to this one. Marcella went and stepped up and wrote this amazing article. It's tinyurl.com/schooling AC as in Anderson Cooper. She spent all day today pulling the science as if he was sitting in her office, and she was attempting to educate him through the mistakes that he made in his interview with Burton. So huge shout out to at Marcella Piper TE and at vaxtruth.org. She really worked hard to get this done for us, and that's /schooling AC. So that's kind of, you see that one, share the shit out of that one. That one's fun. Okay, fine. Sorry, my daughter. I want to get to, I'm just on at CES Day right now. Here's another one. It's called shedding. That's definitely a theme going around. There's Tim's thing. That's the Anderson Cooper one, because he mispronounced thimerosal. First he said thimerosal. He said thimerosal twice, and then it was just the most, it would be hysterical if it didn't mean that more kids are getting sick. It just really would. So let's go back really quickly. So we've got the shedding theme. We've got the silencing doctors theme. Oh, right here. I need you guys to go to, if you see that, you don't have to see this, but if you go to #VaxVote, you're going to find this petition, which is tinyurl.com/VaxVote petition. And we are up to 8,000 votes in about 10 hours. I'm not sure who put this together, but it's phenomenal. And it simply says prohibit any laws mandating the force and requirement of vaccinations of any kind. And I bet you we could get to 100,000 in the next couple days. And again, if you just go to, let me see if it pulls up, if we just put in the hashtag VaxVote. Nothing there. Oh yeah, so there it is. And it clusters some of these other things, like Rand Paul, who represented very well and then went off and got a shot like a politician. Let's just put it that way. Anything else, Tim? What else do we need to tell them? Go over the 5 things one more time with this thread, please.
And first of all, say the hashtag or tweet the hashtag CDC whistleblower.
Okay.
Have a meaningful, reportable, reproducible, genuine, timely link. Have a visual that jumps off the page and gets people's attention.
Like waffles.
Tweet somebody that is meaningful as far as the number of followers and that people might be searching, or relevant or timely as far as the current events. Include their hashtags, include it in as conversational, that you're being somewhat friendly and human. And then, of course, if you can include some sort of action request, whether it's share this, read this, tweet this, retweet this, you help us, anything to say, give them a little bit of urgency for action with the pleases and thank yous. Tweets fly a lot further if you're very polite with them.
And we certainly have some new people. When you see new people, just encourage them. Give them a link to something that they're talking about. Like, if they say half our kids are sick, go in behind that with tinyurl.com/1and2/sicker than ever. If they say no vax never tested, go in with /kid experiments. And it will not only draw them to you as a follower, then they'll start taking your lead, but it'll also, but here's the other thing people need to understand. Even if you're responding to someone who has the CDC whistleblower hashtag in their initial question, you still have to put the CDC whistleblower hashtag in your answer as well, or it doesn't show up individually in the thread.
And take the time to thank those new people and include them in the conversation. If they're tweeting anything to do with the mainstream news articles that are out there, a lot of times all of those news articles that are on the wires don't have the hashtag in there. So you can just add, I see you tweeted this story, thank you very much, CDC whistleblower, thank you. I mean, we just tagged that on there. Then the next person comes around and searches that story. It comes up, and it has a CDC whistleblower hashtag with it. And so, again, the more we're using that everywhere with everything, there's no sin in tagging the hashtag that is the story with the story.
Right, and then this Quackenbush one is an amazing article written by a dad. So if you see that one's a great one going around. I think that's it. I mean, I'm almost afraid to go to sleep tonight thinking that it might just happen first thing in the morning when Donald Trump gets up and says, I'm just going to finish this.
And I just want to say that giving the CDC whistleblower immunity also kind of immunizes the whole population that this conversation is now free to talk about. There's been a lot of fear of recrimination and fear of backlash. It's time for some of the big celebrities to step up and say, hey, whoa, stop picking on people and let's just get this done and tweet it over the top of 1 billion and get that golden ticket for everybody. So yeah, I'm pleading with the celebrity types now. You can come to the table and play. I understand why you stayed away through all this, but it's done and it's over with. Let's put it to bed and let's join the party all together.
Finish strong. Yeah, the other thing I just want to quickly show people is if you put in hashtag CDC whistleblower in Google and you search it, don't let yourself get upset by this. Although this one looks a little better. I don't know what I put in before that. I ended up getting ABC, and I got Autism Speaks and all this other stuff. I can't remember what else I put in there, but the bottom line is when it comes to Google, it just takes millions of dollars to control that.
And remember, the pharmaceutical industrial complex is spending over $1 million a day to get their message out there. What we have done as a group of parents and grandparents and siblings has been to create this group of messaging out there for the general public without spending a dime. None of us are getting fame or fortune or anything off of this. We're doing this heart and soul for the good of humanity, to say why are there 54% of the kids are sick, and that should be the line in the sand, that we shouldn't have our big box stores not being able to sell playground equipment anymore because kids can't play on the playground because of safety issues, of wandering, seizures, allergies, relationship, socializing issues. All of those things that are happening with our kids, those shouldn't happen.
And a couple other resources that I forgot about was after this Daily Caller came out, which is /DC Immune, and then Vaccine Impact did /CDC Immunity, and then we also have /CDC Immunity 1, 2, and 3. I think we just kept collecting articles on it. I did one of the Trends and Tips with Brian Hooker. It's 2 parts. Our goal with doing that was not for it to really be an interview as much for it to be a way to get answers to reporters as soon as they realize that they should be talking to Brian Hooker for the rest of the story. He's Dr. Brian Hooker at Simpson University. Those are available at tinyurl.com/Brian Hooker, and then the numeral 1, and then /Brian Hooker, and the numeral 2. It's a solid hour of his story about the CDC whistleblower. So those you should try to utilize. For any other new tweeters that are coming to hashtag CDC whistleblower and finding a home for their particular belief system around vaccines and educating parents. There's two big places to catch up on information. There's tinyurl.com/TATIPS, which is TATIPS, playlist, and playlist numeral 2. We've done 46 of these podcast Google Hangouts now, just constantly trying to sort of modulate, alter the Twitter feed to the point where it is now. I mean, this feed looked nothing like this when we started a couple of months ago, and now it's exactly the tool we dreamed of having.
And I have two final things that I really want to get in before we're finished. One is, I don't want to squelch anybody's magic.
No.
We say we're modulating the feed, but that's because of the group that we consult with have years and years of social media experience and know what I'm approaching 150,000 tweets over 6 years. And so I kind of trial and error and know what works. And so when I make a suggestion about not muddying the water the minute a national news story comes out and not be adding extraneous hashtags, I'm not meaning that to take away anybody. Any individual can tweet anything they want, anytime they want. But at the moment that we have the CDC whistleblower story come out that we've been working for 6 months, we should be all coming together. So I've got two final points. Is one, add your magic. That's your magic, and we want that creativity, and that sometimes gives us the best messaging to carry forward. That's what goes viral. The second thing is, when something does happen, try not to rain on everybody's parade. People have so much to be stressful about. Our lives are very, very tough dealing with vaccine-injured children, and we just have a tendency to bucket dump on each other. I mean, if a story comes out, don't be the first one up there saying, "Oh, I'm not sure the sources are credible." If it's a story that helps the world of autism and our children and our vaccine-injured, who cares if it's not 110% fact-checked to journalism? It's out there, and people are talking about it. So we should make it fly further, and we should win our battles. When we have victories, we should celebrate them, scream them from the rooftops, and pat each other on the back. We don't get those moments very often.
No, and pretty much this whole time, every time there's been some big milestone, there's been something else that happened that everybody wanted to complain about. Not to sound like a whiner, but oh my God, I've never worked so hard on anything in my life to have it be about everything but the accomplishments. Another theme really quickly that's going around is that the rich pockets of people that aren't vaccinating, and here's one of the memes for that. And the other thing that I wanted to speak to was when I started doing this back in August, I met Brian Hooker on August 28th, and then on August 29th, I hosted him for an event where he spoke publicly about the CDC whistleblower for the first time. And that was phenomenal, and that's what addicted me to this whole idea that Twitter could be the vehicle, and a whole group of people were working on it. So I worked very hard on it and have been working very hard on it, and the whole time have recognized, even before I started working with Tim, that when it comes to Twitter, you can't really lead, you have to follow. So originally I liked the hashtag CDC fraud better because it was much smaller, but then CDC whistleblower was the one that just had some steam behind it, and then Hear This Well was one that had some steam behind it. We have those phenomenal videos at /HTW videos, but the Hear This Well website never culminated into being a valuable landing page for us, and it doesn't seem that we have control over that landing page. So Hear This Well kind of dropped off the face of the earth, or so it seemed. And then hashtag Parents Do the Work, when Lisa Joyce Goes said that twice when she was on MSNBC, really looked like that was going to fly for a while, and then it just kind of petered out. And a couple of months ago, we just talked about the fact that we need some hashtag to marry to hashtag CDC whistleblower, because after we break 1 billion, we need a hashtag that's short and sweet and super easy to paste in, that doesn't take that many characters. And I had been playing around with B1 less, but all spelled out. And then Tim said, what about just B1 less, letter B, number 1, and LESS? And we just threw it out there to see if it would stick, and it really, really did. So the only reason why we're pushing B1 less is because it's simply the shortest, simplest shortcut to use moving forward after we break 1 billion. That's it. Everything else you can put in there now. It doesn't really matter because we're breaking through 1 billion. But until we got to 1 billion, we needed to keep it pure to vaccine and pure to hashtags that didn't muddy the waters. But now pretty much the gloves are off and all bets are off, and let's have a party.
And there's no economic, personal, or
No.
any gain out of anything. That if anybody comes up with any idea that they think is going to move the things forward for our kids, I'm all ears, and I'm all in. I mean, 100% in. I'm willing to do anything at this point. I'd run down the interstate naked if you thought that was what it's going to take.
You mean someone's going to pay you not to do that? Is that what you're thinking?
That is probably the case. Even though I've lost almost 100 pounds, I'm getting close to wanting to do it.
Oh my God. And then the very last thing is, from that hashtag came the b1less.com, which all that is, and it's the most pathetic site you've ever seen, is a landing page that we were able to dump about half of the tiny URLs in. We haven't had time to update it with the rest. And that's all that is.
It's an amazing site. It's going the total opposite of all the bells and whistles and everything else like that. Part of the theme that we've been floating out there is saying justice or health or freedom, and saying it's just that simple, and including the CDC whistleblower hashtag. And this is exactly what that saying is. It's just that simple. It's links. Parents do the work. Click on a link, figure it out, and decide for yourself if the risk benefit of the vaccine that you're just about to give to your child, knowing that there's real risk, it's unavoidably unsafe. When you put this into your child, you could be you could be right then and there putting your child into a body bag.
And the other beauty of this particular format of creating tiny URLs that are subject specific but not from one entity, for example, was that it's completely open source. If somebody creates a phenomenal piece of real estate on the internet, like for example Gary Knoll did the Vax Collapse, immediately we were all over that, and it ends up on the list. So it's a way that if somebody creates something, we don't care if it's a mom or a kid, if it's a great piece of space in the internet that will help educate about vaccines and include references to exactly what they say, then we're thrilled to put it on here, is how I see it. So now we've gone way too long, but I think we're actually realizing that if we do 1 or 2 more of these, that'll probably be it, Tim, before we break 1 billion, you know? I feel it coming. I see so many new people on here, and here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. Be there. Be the reason why we broke 1 billion, and you know, 1 tweet faster. Be that person.
Yeah, be part of history.
Be able to tell your grandkids, you know, I did it. I was tweeting during that hashtag CDC whistleblower thing, break 1 billion, and there you go. We'll end on the photos, and this guy, we got to give some love.
This is our generation's Berlin Wall. This is the moment that we saw something that was wrong with our society, and every part of our constitutional makeup is being challenged by this discussion. It just viscerally tears me apart that they threaten somebody who sacrificed their child for the greater good and their greater good, and they say, oh, we're going to sue you, we're going to jail you, we're going to take your child away and vaccinate him. that goes against everything that the first do no harm and the original Hippocratic Oath said.
And no matter how pro-vax you are, if what you hear on the TV and in the news right now doesn't scare the shit out of you, then you need to do a little more research about history, because they're talking about having way more control over us than can ever happen in a society that it doesn't go south in a hurry. Not to sound.
If you ever dreamed of having control of your body, if you ever are on that side of the discussion where the government can come in and do something with your body, that's one side of it. If you own a gun and you think that your gun is yours, after this discussion, if they mandate the vaccines, the next step is taking away your guns. So all of those things, those things are all on the table.
Not to go totally beanfield on you as I sit in California where it's anyway. We love you guys. We have been part of history. We have been happy to help narrate it a little bit during this journey. And we will see you tomorrow on Twitter. Love you. Tim, any final words?